So welcome back to DecoyNoise and another episode of Am I the Antagonist? And am I the antagonist for being upset that my sister is having a baby with our dad? So if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing down below. We do Furlough DecoyNoise, which is 2 episodes a day at 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, but I mean, let's just get into the story right now. So OP writes, my half-sister Lila and I have not always been close. We have the same dad, but different moms. Lila grew up with her dad and her mom in the US, while I grew up in France with my mom. We saw each other during holidays only, until I moved out my mom's when I was 21 and moved to the same country as Lila. We started hanging out again and became best friends. We were so similar and had a great time partying, having fun, and exploring the city together. Around this time, Lila, who was 18, met Ellie, 26. I didn't like Ellie at first. She was the typical player/womanizer. She was older, and I didn't want my little sister to get hurt. They went through a lot together, including some infidelity and drama. It was off and on until it was on, and then they got engaged. I was happy for her, but still wary. I was her maid of honor in their wedding, and they seemed very happy before and after, so I just accepted it. Fast forward, and Lila is now 25 and I'm 28. Lila lives with Ellie and they own 2 homes and are doing very well financially. Lila tells me everything and she's really happy with the way the relationship has matured. I live in Las Vegas, single, working in a nightclub. I was FaceTiming Lila yesterday and she told me that her and Lila are planning, probably Ellie, her and Ellie are planning on having a baby and asked me if I was ready to be an aunt. I told her that I'm already an aunt, my mother's daughter has a child, and asked why she wants to get pregnant with all that's going out in the world. So many children in foster care, etc. She said that she's not getting pregnant, Ellie is. She told me that they're considering adoption in the future, but Ellie really wants to experience being pregnant, so they want a biological child. She told me that our dad is going to donate sperm to impregnate Ellie so they're comfortable with the genetic medical history and they can have a baby that's related to both Lila and Ellie. I freaked out a little and told her that was weird. Her wife would essentially be giving birth to our sister. She wouldn't be my niece. Lila was a little drunk and I could tell her feelings were getting kind of hurt, and she said I was crapping on her plans to start a family with Ellie because I don't like her. I'm single and don't want kids, and I'm entitled to being selfish with my life and money, but that's not what she wants to do. That's not what she wants to do. She said that she wanted to share this plan with me because I'm her best friend, but obviously can't be happy for her due to my perspective, and she wouldn't talk about baby stuff with me anymore, and then she hung up. I feel bad about hurting her feelings, but I just don't think it's a good idea. Am I the antagonist for not wanting my sister-in-law to have a baby with my dad? So like I said, we're going to take the story right now as it is, give it to Decoy Court, where I'm going to give you my knee-jerk reaction. I'm going to kind of discuss like how I feel about it. We're going to read some top comments. We're going to go over to some controversial comments. I'll read your comments down below, and then we're going to do a bit of decoy deliberation, where we're going to take all the facts at hand and just figure out who genuinely should be the antagonist and what theoretical punishment we would give them for being said antagonist. So right now, we're just going to kind of break this down right here because I do have a bit of experience in this situation. Not the way it's phrased right there, but I'll go ahead and say that one of my best friends, I'll just call her N. I don't want to like dox anybody's information, but one of my best friends, N, she's a girl, and she meets R, who's also a girl. So they were both dating men at the time when they met, but then all of a sudden they just decided like, hey, look, they're in love with each other. So N and R, both women, get married, and they just have, beautiful wedding, beautiful family, and then all of a sudden they start saying they want to have a child, and in the same way that they're talking about it in this story where R wants to have the baby and N has a brother that's willing to donate sperm. So then when they have the baby, just like in this story right here, the baby would be both their genetic material, it would be family, and they just know everything about it. It would look like a mixture of them because her brother looks just like N. So it became a situation where I saw that and I'm like, hey, that's a good idea. Like I was totally accepting of it and saying, cool, like you guys are gonna have a baby together. And it was like, N's a good friend, I know R, like it was all a good situation. But then later on in life, I started dating a girl, and I'll call her E. E has a brother named T, and T is gay, and he marries a great guy in C. When T and C are married and they're together for a while, they start talking about having a child, and you think adoption, you think of all the things that this family is thinking about as well. But then the idea of my girlfriend at the time, E, saying, hey, I'll be a surrogate mother for you. So then essentially her brother's husband, C, says, I'll donate sperm, will artificially inseminate E, my girlfriend, and all of a sudden I'm just 100% not okay with it. I was like thinking, wait, my girlfriend is going to be carrying her nephew son or her sister niece, or no, sorry, her niece daughter. Like, it totally made me feel super awkward about it. So when we're looking at situations like this, we want to be very careful in the sense that we can judge OP right now saying, hey, you're the antagonist, your half-sister is obviously very okay with the situation, so is your dad, everybody's cool about it, why don't you just be happy for her? You're her best friend, allegedly, you're the maid of honor, your family, she just wants to share this with you. But then we can judge those people because we're so far attached from the situation. I mean, so far detached from the situation that we have no idea what they're going through. So I have the same exact thing where if I look out from the outside in saying, hey, look, my friend N and R, they're going to have a baby with the brother. That's really cool. A great idea. I'm sure we'll see this more commonplace in the future. But all of a sudden when it's happening to me where it's like, okay, so I'll be living and dating a girl, E, that has her brother's kid, like, her brother's husband's kid inside of her. Like, it totally was weird, but it's like, yes, am I being the antagonist in that situation? Likely, and also, do I have any say over whatever they're doing with, like, the whole their family? They can take care of it. I may or may not be in the life the next year, so it's like I can't really say no to that. But I do want to give everybody their fair shake in the sense that I'm okay with it when it doesn't directly impact me. Now, granted, there's something very different with this. The person that's pregnant in those first two interactions where it's both women that are married to each other, so the pregnant person is inside the relationship. In my particular scenario, where the pregnant person carrying the baby with, like, dealing with, like, morning sickness, going to classes and doctor's checkups are going to be people that are outside of the relationship. So it's like, now I'm impacted. So I do understand there's a bit of a difference in my situation, that situation, but I do know that it's very, very easy for you to say, cool, sounds good, rubber stamp, I'm all happy for it. But if it's happening to you and it actually is making you feel uncomfortable with your day-to-day life, all of a sudden everything changes. So I kind of see also when you're reading this right there, where in the very beginning, it doesn't seem like OP liked the girl Ellie. She was older, she was a womanizer, she cheated on her, they're off and on, so she's gonna have her reservations towards Ellie anyways. So is this possibly an idea that OP is not okay with Ellie having a kid with Lila at all? Or is this where she actually is weirded out by the idea that her half-sister's wife is going to be giving birth to her second half-sister? Possibly that's what it is, but you do kind of see in the situation where, one, she was never happy with Ellie's life choice. She just was a good sister and just kind of nodding and saying, okay, I don't agree with you dating Ellie, but I'm going to support you at the wedding. I'm your best friend. We're going to go through all this together. So she's good on OP for that. But then also the idea that OP and Lila have very, very different life values, in the sense that Lila wants to get, what is she, 25? She wants to get married. She wants to have kids. And then I think that OP has said that she was 28 and she's still living in Vegas. She's working at a nightclub. So she enjoys a single life. So just the idea that even when they brought up having the child, OP was not comfortable with the idea that you're going to bring your child into this climate. There's lots of people in foster care. Why can't you do that? Like, even before she heard about the dad situation, she was already lining up a whole bunch of reasons as to not having a kid. So maybe it's just one of those situations where OP's not okay with Ellie. She's not okay with marriage. She's not okay with kids. She's not okay with any of that other situation over there. But then you give her one definitive thing that she can kind of hang her hat on, saying, but you're having a kid with our dad. As weirdly phrased as that is, that could possibly be the main reason she's upset. So, like I said, with Decoy Court, we're going to take all my knee-jerk reaction and say that OP is very, very lightly the antagonist. It's okay to be freaked out by something and be not accepting of something because it's something that's very foreign to her. Whether she's right or wrong doesn't mean that she's not entitled to her own opinion. The only reason I'm calling her the antagonist is because it's about, like, just like how she didn't like Ellie at first, and then she kind of had to warm up to her and say, hey, Lila's life choices, she's an adult, she can get married to that person, so she accepted it. It's got to be the same situation here where Lila's going to feel bad that now she doesn't get to share the whole, like, having a baby, the excitement, the baby shower, the, first birthdays and everything. Lila's always going to have it in the back of the head that OP's not accepting of her life choices, and she's just kind of silently judging her, or kind of like, I don't know how a better way to put it, but it's never going to be 100% accepted just because it's an unconventional way for her to have a child. So, like I say, I could be wrong. I could be the antagonist. I give you a little kind of glimpse of how my life is and with the way I thought about things. So if you think I'm right, think I'm wrong, drop a comment down below. Everybody that gives me a really, really good comment that makes me think, makes me change my mind, makes me mad, you can even make fun of me. If it's a quality comment, you get yourself that Decoy Koi coin over on the DecoyNoise.com website, where I'm kind of awarding people that are good contributors to the podcast. And then also just, it's going to be worth something in the future. I don't know what it's going to be, but at some point in time, I will reward the people. Like I said, the sub 1K sub club, everybody that subscribed to me under 1,000, I'm going to try to do something to say thanks to you guys. So let's go ahead and go to that top comment right now. So the top person says, "You're the antagonist for the wording of this title. Your dad is donating sperm to an unrelated biologically unrelated woman, so that woman's spouse, his daughter, can experience parenthood. While it's certainly unconventional, I wonder if being judgmental about it is going to do anything except alienate you from your family. Are there other reasons you feel this is a bad idea?" And I feel like I kind of covered all that situation where it's like, it may just be all the underlying circumstances that makes OP so against this, and then this was just the tipping point. Or maybe even if this didn't come up, she would have highlighted a different point of it where it's saying like, this is the wrong time to be having a kid, and she would have just kept, this post would have still came up on Reddit. It just would have been about the whole, should my stepsister be having a kid right now when everything's tough right now financially? So it could have been anything, but that's a good point to bring up, the whole thing where it's like, they're not related. It's just because this is something different that you've never seen before doesn't make it inherently wrong. But let's go ahead and read a reply from that. So the reply to that is, "No, that's crap is weird, bro. They can't find another sperm donor. They would literally be raising their sister." So a reply to that is, "The choice to go for the father is a bit odd for sure, but going with close family like a brother or cousin is pretty common, and it sounds like the father is the genetically closest male to Lila." And that's the one thing, it's like, it's important to say that it's one of those situations, like at some point in time, I want to have children, but I do know that coming from someone that was born into a foster home, that there's lots of kids that need homes, but it's just the sad part where we just kind of, it's hardwired in our genetics that we want a child that's us. We want to see a little version of Decoy running around. We want to see a little version of Lila running around. So as selfish as it is, it's not uncommon to want that. It's pretty normal for that. So it makes sense that Lila would want her father to donate that sperm. Let's go ahead and read another comment. So this person writes, "Yes, I know a lesbian couple, A and B, where they got sperm donated from A's brother, and B was a biological mother and the one pregnant for both pregnancies. They did this specifically so they both could be biologically related to the children. A had zero desire to ever be pregnant." And that's exactly what I went through. So it's not like they're just reinventing the wheel. Like, it's a good idea. It makes sense. So like I said, though, it's easy for me to say, hey, look, that's a good idea, good on them. But then all of a sudden, when it was more relevant to me and actually impacted my day-to-day life, all of a sudden I was like, oh, absolutely not. Do not do that. I hate that idea. Where easy for us to judge from the outside looking in. I always feel like we should give OP a fair shake, or anybody in the story that seems like the antagonist, give them the benefit of the doubt, because in that particular situation, if you put yourself in OP's shoes, you may think differently. So let's read another reply. So this person writes, "Yes, my parents are lesbians and at one point considered using my stepmom's brother's sperm to get my biomom pregnant so they could have a child who was related to both them and me. They didn't go through with it because they didn't want me to feel left out or neglected by my stepmom's family in favor of what they'd see as a real grandchild. I was an accident for my mom's previous heterosexual relationship. I really wish they had done it though. It's a really neat idea. I always really wanted a sibling and I felt so left out anyway, so I don't see any issue with OP's sister's plans, and I wish them well. OP is the antagonist, and if they can't say anything nice, the best route is to say nothing at all. It's none of their business whether or not how people choose to have their children," which is a good insight to that, and that's someone that's in the situation that can kind of tell you about it. So let's look at the next top comment. This person writes, "My unpopular opinion, but I'm going with you're the antagonist. Your dad has donated genetic material to your half-sister's wife, a woman he can safely presume, yes, has no genetic connection to them whatsoever. If your father married your sister's wife in the world where your sister's wife was a straight woman not married to your sister and had a child with her, there would be no issue. The fact that your sister is going to raise a child that is 50% genetically your father is not the usual way it's done, but there is nothing illegal, illicit, or immoral going on here. It's not like she had other male relatives to choose from. Dad's an only child, no brothers, nephews, or uncles. Also, not for nothing, but unless I'm reading this wrong, she isn't even pregnant yet. Don't count your chickens. It's not an absolute given that this will even work. And edit and strike through, when I first weighed in, there was an avalanche of not the antagonist, but I guess the tide turned. Change of the scoreboard for reason and rationality. So like, two things I want to say on this is, that's why I always say I want to go to the top comments and the controversial comments, because oftentimes the first people that get to the thread just randomly are all on one side. They make some logical points and everybody starts upvoting that, and then later on you have somebody with different rationale ask OP a different question. OP clarifies it, and all of a sudden the right answer is the opposite, but nobody sees that because that's down in controversial, while the top post was just the first person that was there. So it's very important for us to weigh out both options. But also the other thing that I'm not a fan of is they say, not for nothing, she's not even pregnant, don't count your chickens before they hatch. So I'm not a fan of the idea that it's like, okay, look, my stepsister has a plan. I don't like it, but it's probably not going to work out, so I'm going to go ahead and pretend I'm supportive of it, even though I'm not, because if it does happen, you're screwed. Like, oh yeah, so all of a sudden you were cool with it until it actually happened. Now she's going to be honest. Now she's going to prove that she was lying this entire time. That doesn't sound like a good way to go about it to me, but I mean, let me know in the comments down below if you think that would be a good way to go about it, but I just don't see that you should lie about it just because the probability is low. Let's go ahead and read the next reply to that. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with there's nothing even remotely wrong with this, and the medical history thing is a valid concern. So is the both being related to the baby. Sure, it's unconventional, but that doesn't make it wrong. You're the antagonist. And then so I feel like we're getting a good feel for everybody that's saying they're the antagonist. Quite possibly we can see something over in the controversial section that is different, but like I always say, I want to read your comments because oftentimes we'll get a specialist in the comments. Like we are at what, I think 1.3k subscribers right now. So most of the time when I talk about something like veganism or like dogs or something, we'll have somebody that actually is like a veterinarian that knows the intricate details of what's going on, so we get a better feel for it. So please, if you have good information or feedback or something anecdotal, don't ever worry about writing too long of a story, because I want to read all of it. Like I said, this is furloughed DecoyNoise. I got time to be doing 2 episodes a day and to read everything and anything that comes across the comment section. So let me know what you think. But let's read that first top comment. So the first top comment, or controversial comment, says, assuming the baby is a girl, she would be your sister's daughter and her sister. She would be your niece and your sister too. This is such a bizarre choice, and I can't blame you for being uneasy, not the antagonist. That's the thing, is you can't blame them for being uncomfortable with it initially. Like, you want to support your family through thick and thin, no matter what their life choices are, as long as they're not hurting anybody. And this is just seems like a net positive at the end of the day. So you want to let her know that, hey, look, even though this was a controversial reply, we're just weirded out by it. We've never seen it before. It's not commonplace. And if you saw something you never saw before, of course you're going to be like, I don't like it. It's just natural reaction until you kind of get acclimated. So, I mean, they got negative points, but I'm willing to say that that's kind of a reasonable response. But let's go ahead and read the next reply to that. So this person writes, you think an older sister raising a younger sister is that bizarre? That happens all the time, which is true. A lot of older sisters raise their much younger sisters because they become the mother figure in them. So that's not too off the wall. I think it's just the idea that, not the whole idea that older sister's raising younger sister. It's the idea that older sister is raising her younger sister / daughter. That's what's putting people off. And that's just the phrasing of the situation, not necessarily right and wrong. It's just, this is different. This is weird. I don't like it. So that poster came back and wrote, sisters / daughter is bizarre. Yes. And they got negative points for saying that that's something that I feel like if we were growing up in the same generation that, like, you my listeners and me, none of us really had any like classmates named like Falcon Rose or something, or what was the one kid on the Celebrity Daughter, Slash Electric. Like, we weren't raised around that. So the first generations of Slash Electric, and if I name my kid DecoyNoise, people are going to be like, that's bizarre. But the more commonplace it is to kind of name kids something different and more trendy, like, you know, this new age of like parents, it's going to be okay. It's going to be more, no one's going to, like, you know, oust them. But the first generation of something that hasn't happened before is always going to be kind of ridiculed, especially by like the early adopters. It's kind of hard phrasing, but I mean, Is there a right and wrong? Yes and no, but I'm very curious to know what you guys in the comment section are thinking, because obviously I have my own particular input on this situation. But I mean, like I always say, if you made it this far in the video, you've obviously watched all the content. I want to say thank you, because I do appreciate you guys kind of hanging out during this situation, listening to me babble, giving me back good feedback. If you haven't already, please subscribe down below, and then check out the DecoyNoise.com to fill out the polls, give me feedback, just kind of check out the Decoy Coy and what we got coming up. But if anything, just hang out for a while, watch the next episode of DecoyNoise, because we got all this stuff kind of on loop right now.